Hey team, it's Coach Claire here from Odeon Fitness, and today we're talking burpees. We're gonna learn a burpee.
Yeah, what do I do?
Perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take you through a step-by-step process so that you can understand what's happening with your body while we do the burpee. So the first thing that I'm gonna get you to do is you're gonna make your legs nice and wide. The reason we wanna do that is as I start to hinge down to come to the ground, it's gonna set me up for success in terms of being in the proper position. Okay, so I'll just get you to follow me. And what we'll do is I'm gonna stand with my legs quite wide. And what I wanna imagine is pushing my hips back like I'm sitting back in a chair as I bring my hands down. And the closer you can get them to your feet, the better, okay? So once I'm there, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pull my belly button to my spine because I'm about to move my body and I wanna make sure that I brace my core. So from there, I'm going to jump back, brace my core and on the ground. And you can see that because we placed our hands down, now they're right back by my ribs as opposed to out by my shoulders, right? So if I popped up and I walked forward, that's why when most people do burpees, their shoulders are really sore. So now that I'm in this position, what we're gonna be doing is getting ready to use our hips to pop up. Again, most people push with their arms first, and we're gonna get our hips ready. So the first thing I'm gonna get you to do, Andrew, is I'm gonna get you to squeeze your back, and you should feel your hips push into the ground. Do you feel that? Mm-hmm. And we're just gonna do a couple reps where you're not gonna drive into your arm first, you're gonna squeeze your back first. And as you do that, I want you to start to practice, pretend there's a string attached to your belly button, and as you squeeze your back, you're gonna pull your spine nice. You're gonna pull your belly button to your spine so you can brace your core. Okay? So we're just doing it enough to feel the hips push into the floor. And then what we're gonna do is, when we're ready, we're gonna push our hips aggressively into the floor. Okay, I'm gonna squeeze my back, push my hips into the floor, squeeze my core, and then pop up nice and aggressively. So squeeze, pop, push. Perfect. So in doing it that way, what you'll actually find is you're gonna have less burn of your shoulder because you're not doing a push-up, you're just doing a burpee. Cool. Instead of a push-up with a burpee. Mm-hmm. So then what we would do is we would reset ourselves back down, come back down, jump back, and then squeeze and pop up. Okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So why don't you try a couple of those? That's it. And squeeze and pop. Perfect. And I could actually see you bracing there, which was really good. And it's a lot easier to move your body weight when you're all tight, right? So it gets really difficult to do a burpee when your body's not connected. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Cool.
So I think now is probably we can get into a bunch of progressions in terms of not everyone has the same hip mobility, or we might have knee problems or something. So what's really great about our program is we can start off with the first progression and work all our way up to getting that nice full hip pop burpee.
Cool.
Okay?
Yeah.
So step one is we like to grab a box. So this is for anyone, like when my mom and my dad come in, they like to use a box as well. And so what I'm gonna get you to do is, the first one is we're gonna put our hands on the box. We're gonna be stepping back. We're gonna be stepping up. And then from here, I'm gonna squeeze through my legs and nice big arm reach overhead, okay? And again, the same principles still apply. You still wanna brace your core when you're moving. And then again, pushing through your legs through to extension is gonna get you starting to feel the power in your hip, pushing and squeezing. Good.
Cool.
That's good.
So where do my arms need to be?
Your arms, yeah, so if you just put them right down on the box, again, sometimes what we find is when people come in, you know, pushing your hands all the way down, you know, if you have some wrists or wrist soreness or anything like that, having that nice even pressure in your hands is going to be something that's going to transfer as we start to move to the ground as well. Okay. So the next progression is we're just going to add a hop.
Okay.
So instead of stepping back, so from here, I'm going to brace my core. I'm jumping back, I'm jumping, and I'm jumping. So now that we are moving our entire body weight off the ground, what you're going to find is there's going to be a little bit more of a heart pump from that.
Okay.
And it'll also continue to, drive home jumping through the hip, right? So our hip is closing and extending, and then we get a nice good extension as well.
Okay.
So you can try that one. Again, bracing your core as you move. Brace, brace, brace. Perfect. We'll do another one. And obviously what you can do is if you need a higher box, you can get a higher box. And then if you wanted to progress, you can also get a lower box.
Okay.
And it gets you closer and closer to the ground.
Depending on how strong and how good I feel about it.
Like
okay.
the big thing is that if there's 50 burpees in a workout, you don't want to, have to do the full movement, get through 3 of them and feel like, like it's this huge mountain to climb, right? So by scaling, what we are able to do is still match the stimulus of the workout and achieve the volume. So it just helps people that way. The next thing that we can move is we would take the box away and we would move to what we do a lot in our warm-ups, which is a down and up. So a down and up is exactly the same. It's just the first part. So we're going to stay more in a plank position. So when I jump back or step back, I'm going to be more in a plank position. And again, just training my legs to come out nice and wide, which is something people find quite difficult, especially if your hips are tight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can go down, step back, again, core tight, and down. And even just finding that nice, where you're balanced on your skeleton, so you're having your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder all in a line, that's going to transfer to so many other exercises as you work through the program.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can do that with a step or a jump, depending on where you're comfortable. So you can step back, perfect, or you can jump back. And again, focusing on pushing, bringing that kind of, I always think about the back part of my body here. And as I come down, I want to lift it up nice and high. And then it becomes, again, more about moving your hip than pushing through your arm. Okay? Cool. From there, we would transfer on to laying all the way down, but with a step back. So I would come all the way down, brace my core, step all the way down. When we do this, what we want to make sure is we're still doing the same progression as we were doing for the full burpee. But what I want to make sure is as soon as I squeeze my core and tighten my legs, when I go to move, I want to think about bringing my knee to my elbow. Again, if that movement is done slowly, it can end up being, quite painful, right? As opposed, so instead of trying to move your body in different sections, you want to try and find that nice fluid state where you can brace your core and move nice and easily. So move a little quicker.
So that's why the scaling works best, because then you can actually find the fluid movement without struggling too hard.
Yes, yeah, because if you think about if every time you do a burpee, like imagine every time you do a burpee, it's,
Yeah, you'd be miserable.
Right? Like it would be, and you have to do 50, like you're just going to hate burpees. And the whole thing is that one of the main reasons why people hate the burpee is because it's done poorly, right? So again, lying on the ground and picking your whole body weight up is hard, right? Especially if you're not bracing your core and moving from core to extremity. Yeah, I would hate it. And I did until I learned properly. But now I love them, right? And I think it also allows you to feel the power of your hips, right? Because when you're on the ground, you don't think, like I would be like, I didn't think I'd be able to push myself off the ground, right? But again, it's just learning, like the majority of our movements all come from this powerful hip, closing and opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then a full burpee?
Full burpee is the progression. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be hinging back, hands come on ground, and we want to remember wrist, elbow, shoulder, right? And then I'm going to brace my core, come back, squeeze my back, and then think about, again, you can still think about bringing elbows to knees. We really want to make sure that the feet are wide because it's a shorter distance of travel. Where if I came down and I kept my feet close together, I have to lift my hips that much further up in the air to fit my legs in.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and give it a try? Good. Perfect. Another really helpful tip is really learning how to recruit your back muscles, your lats. So when you did your burpee there, when you came up, your elbows kind of popped out a little bit, which you'll feel that more in your shoulders. So if you can keep your elbows squeezed as you're doing it, your back will stay nice and rigid, and it'll help you move even more. So set, push, pop. How'd that feel?
Easier.
Yeah. And again, it's just about learning, like a burpee's hard until you learn how to move your body like a machine, right? Like as soon as you understand step A, B, C, it becomes a lot easier. Just like in any skill that we practice, right? If you're, learning to play baseball, learning how to catch a ball properly, learning how to swing, there's training. There's training in everything. There's learning in everything.
Cool.
Very cool.
Okay, so full movement, full progressions.
Yeah.
And then you end up with a burpee. What do you like get from a burpee though? Is it like, does it transition to anything?
I think that what's really cool is it just teaches you how to get off the floor faster, right? So the whole idea is that you don't just come in here and use these skills for the hour that you're in class, right? Like if you're, I'm laying on the ground and I'm watching TV, and I want to pop up and grab a soda, I can just, get a burpee. Just use my burpee to pop up, right? If you're working in the garden, you need to go jump up and get a tool, that's a lot easier. I think the biggest thing with anything that we do here is you take the skills that you learn and you start to apply them in life, right? And then that way, it just becomes second nature, right? Like we say that all the time, that the movement should be something that you practice. It's the same all the time so that when you go to use your body, it's just this beautiful muscle memory, right? It's like, when you drive your car and you end up home in your driveway and you're like, how did I get here? Right? You can actually find that in your workouts if you practice good technique and quality technique all the time. If you come in and chase, numbers and times and stuff and you don't dial into that quality, I would feel like you're doing yourself a disservice to the level that you could achieve in your fitness.
Cool.
Yeah.
So thanks.
You're welcome.
Burpee.
Yay. Now go teach all your friends.